else's video because everybody else's video was like awesome. Everybody had their own like creative like idea. I just need to perfect my video editing skills, and I just wanted to ask like, does everybody have like video editing skills that they prior to this class, or like everybody just watch like YouTube videos just like me and just naturally caught on to everything? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to rephrase that. Has anybody had video editing experience prior to this class? Yeah, I think it's everybody's first time. Max has.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've used iMovie, and I have a few YouTube videos, but I haven't really
I can't hear
time.
anything. Oh, boy.
Yeah, so I mean, I've made a few videos, but I've never used Adobe Premiere. I've used other Adobe products, and I've tried to use After Effects. So I'm learning. I mean, I feel like everything that I do, I have to look at a YouTube tutorial before I do it, because I can't, you know, it's like I'm just trying to figure out, okay, how do I make this faster or something, and I just have to constantly watch tutorials. So
yeah, I was in the same boat. That's why my video was a little late, because it's just like every single thing. I was like, how do I record my screen? YouTube video. How do I cut this out? Like, separate the audio and the video in Premiere. And yeah, it was my first time, so there's definitely a lot to improve. I liked what Ines said. Ines, can't get her name right. She said record things multiple times, and I definitely wish I did that, because I sounded funny a couple times and didn't pronounce a word right. So that's something I want to do in the future. Do several takes. And
how did you end up recording your screen? Did you download a screen capture software?
Yeah, I just looked it up on YouTube. I thought Premiere Pro should have it, and then there's all these comments, people saying like it can't actually record from your webcam or your screen, and there's a different higher version that can do it. But yeah, I downloaded a program called, oh, I can't find it. It's on the other computer. It's like one of the top YouTube videos, though, if you search how to record your screen and edit it with Premiere Pro.
Mm-hmm. Is it open broadcast software?
What do you mean by that?
OBS. Like that. I was just wondering what software you were using.
Oh, no, it wasn't that. Hold on, I'll find it. But that's my take on what my problems were and what I can improve on.
I want to echo Kanis that, you know, your video really stood out. From as like, because it had like this really cohesive style to it, and yeah, it was really good.
Thanks. I was worried.
So there's instruction that I could be giving you. You know, like if you do run into editing confusions, I'm happy to take emails or with questions, and you know, if I get enough of the same question, I'll even make a video tutorial about it myself. But like, how has watching other YouTube video tutorials been?
So watching other YouTube tutorials was super helpful, because like Premiere Pro is pretty like comprehensive and like easy to understand. And within the first like hour of using it, I was kind of like more comfortable with the controls. But like other YouTube videos were super helpful, and my watching history is just like how to do this, how to do that, how to do a jump cut, like how to edit audio, how to like make music quieter on Premiere Pro. So YouTube videos were really helpful. But also I feel like something that I didn't realize was that it's a lot harder to edit the YouTube video than it is to actually record it. So like script writing and recording takes me like a couple of hours put together, and then editing takes me like a whole day. Just like cutting like breaths and like little tiny pauses and like making sure it kind of like flows smoothly. But yeah, I think I got practice with the first video, because the first video took me, I think like the full 3 or 4 days that we had in between to finish. And the video that I made for the lecture that we had on Monday on Inez Dawson's lecture took me like Monday, yesterday, and then like today in the morning, and I'm pretty much like done with it. So it gets a lot easier as you do it. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Has anybody else had that experience, that this second assignment is easier than the first one?
I still have a bit to go yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be easier because I know so much more about just the basics now, like how to cut, how to edit, paste, how to speed up parts.
Yeah.
Get things to line up. Yeah. Because everything I had to look up on YouTube, and now half of that's going to be already known.
Cool. Well, I must say I've been so thrilled with the 4 videos I've seen. You know, like you all there, like you've put in a lot of effort, and it's made me really happy to see what's come out of it, and that these are just the first videos. And I know, you know, if you do this, you know, you're going to do it 9 more times, and yeah, it's really great. Yeah, so let's zoom out a little bit. How has the course content been in terms of watching the lectures and the readings? Have any of you touched on the reading for tomorrow for Ursula Goodenough? So how's the lecture component stuff been?
So I started reading the Reflections on Scientific and Religious Metaphor, and it's super interesting, and it's really interesting that it's like less sciencey and more like semantics and stuff. Also, I really like her last name.
Sorry?
I really like her last name.
Her last name, yeah. Yeah, well, her father was a minister, Minister Goodenough. And you know, she's a really interesting lady because she's a microbiologist. She studies alga, but what she's going to be presenting on is not that. Yeah, so I guess what I'm wondering is compared to a traditional bio class where you're given a bunch of reading and asked to memorize it, or you know, it'll be tested on it. Do you think that making videos is helping you learn the content, or do you end up learning more if you're being tested? Do you not know?
A lot of biology courses, and I've never taken a course where we've had to make a video, and I like the concept of it because it is, I don't want to sound about, so it is helpful to understand what you're making the video about, because like I said, you don't want to sound like you don't know what you're talking about. So I find it helpful.
Cool.
Yeah, at least for my video, I knew of the examples I talked about, but in order to make the video, I had to really dig into them and make sure everything was right and get more detailed pictures and stuff like that. So it does help to learn.
Cool.
I like the idea of making a video because it allows us to engage with the topic that we're trying to focus on, as opposed to like, you know, like the traditional bio classes. I've noticed that with many of my bio classes, we've regurgitated most of the information that we've been taught, and it's not like we're going to remember it after we've been tested on it. Unless you're really interested in what you've been taught, then like you're not really going to remember all the information you regurgitated for that exam. So I like the idea of making a video because you actually have to know what you're talking about, and you actually have to be interested in it in order to, you know, produce like a product.
Yeah, Kenise, I wanted to go back to something that you said in the very beginning of this conversation, that your only video experience was Snapchat. But because I think that totally counts as video experience, and it did show, like, you know, you can sort of like divide the videos that we got, like there's a way of making videos for folks that don't really want to be on screen, where you can record your voice and you can use a lot of graphics and things to make something good that way. But what I liked about your video is that you were really relying almost exclusively on your screen presence and your personality, and it really did show through. And so I appreciated the role playing that you did, and that you tried to really make it something that we could empathize with.
I also found that like having to rephrase the information and put it like in your own words and having to like just regurgitate it helps me learn a lot, because if I'm confident enough in the material to teach it to someone else, like I have a higher chance of like remembering it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that speaking is really the best way to learn something. You know, that if you can explain it coherently, then you'll be good. I guess one comment that I wanted to make for everybody's videos, and this is one that takes a long time to learn, is just jump cuts can almost always be tighter. So your video should basically be 100% human speech, unless there's something very deliberate that you're trying to show. Like if there's a time that you're not speaking where you want it to be silent or you want to have some other sound effect, it should be like a very conscious decision of like, oh, I'm going to put silence here. Other than that, the way that you should be cutting is you should cut it so that there's almost no pauses. Like I'll often just like cut out even the tiny pauses I take to breathe sometimes. So it's a little tedious, and you'll get faster at it the more comfortable you get with the editor, but pay special attention to the areas around where you're cutting and try to eliminate as much silent space as you can.
Oh, I actually had a quick question about like Premiere Pro.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm like clipping the clips that I'm gonna put in the video, sometimes there's like breaths in between speech, but I want to keep like the whole portion of speech. So there's like a little window on the top left, I think, where you can like choose the bit that you want to put in. But can you do that like in the actual, I don't know the terminology for it, like in the actual like main screen where you have like the timeline and like the audio bites and everything? I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, let me share my screen and I can show you the piece that I'm working on, and maybe you can clarify the question. Does that sound good? Okay. So we're gonna share Adobe Premiere. Share. Okay. So here's Premiere. So Nicole, what you're saying is that like you want to do editing here, but sometimes you see it up here.
You're muted.
So yeah, I usually edit on the top left part.
You've been editing up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know how to edit on the bottom screen.
Yeah.
And like it's worked fine.
You should definitely be editing over here. It'll be much easier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here are all your tools. The ones that you will probably use the most is the razor tool for cutting, and then the rate stretch tool. Really, for the kind of videos that John is making, the rate stretch tool is more important. So this is how you can speed things up and slow things down. But so all of your editing tools are here. So to cut something here, like I'll just I'll put this clip here, right? So we zoom in on it. So I've got a bunch of dead space, and then I'm gonna start talking.
To answer that question,
right? So you can actually, oftentimes I won't even watch the clip. I'll just look at the audio form. So like I know that it's ending right here. So I put my mouse there and I cut it. And then the same thing at the beginning, and I cut it there. And then you can just delete the stuff on the side and then move the clip to where you want it to be.
How did you get that?
How did I do what? Sorry, can you say the question again?
How did you zoom in?
Plus and minus lets you zoom in and out.
Okay.
Yeah, so the keyboard, the way the zoom in and out is plus and minus, and then when you scroll on the mouse up and down for a web browser, it actually goes side to side in Premiere because the clips are read from left to right. Are there any other questions about Premiere?
Yeah, Maximus, can you explain what the ripple edit tool and the slip tool and some of these other tools are and how they work?
Yeah, so one thing is I don't really use them that much, and I don't expect that you will either. But so the way that it goes is I'm gonna cut this clip in half just so let's say I cut this and I deleted it and I fused these. Oh, so I fused them. So let's say I actually I cut out too much. So if I use the ripple edit, which is the ripple edit will move this line over. So it'll make, if I use the ripple edit, the left-hand clip will get longer and the right-hand clip will get shorter, like that. Oh, wait, no, that's incorrect. So the ripple edit allows me to insert stuff in. So do you see what's happening is that this clip is getting longer and it's pushing the other clip back. Whereas if I'm just using the regular extender, if I do that, it's just going to make a hole, right? And then if I try to extend this one, it won't let me. So the ripple edit like pushes all the clips on either side away. And then the rolling edit will displace. So with the rolling edit, I made the left clip longer and the right clip shorter. So those tools, they allow you to do in fewer actions what you could do with more actions by just using the select tool and then moving the clips around, which is what I tend to do because it's more precise to do it that way. If you find yourself like doing a specific repetitive task, you might want to use those tools, but I almost never use them. The tools that I basically use are just the cut tool, the rate stretch tool, and the selection tool.
Okay, can you talk a little bit about the overwrite and the snap functions or whatever those are in the top or the left-hand corner of right next to the tools? You know what I'm talking about? The overwrite or insert functions.
Insert and overwrite. Where am I?
Yeah, it's right above where it says V1 and A1. Like those they're not tools. I don't know. They're like sequence settings or something like that where you can snap clips together and insert and overwrite. Because I was having some issues trying to like insert something and not have it overwrite another one. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff obviously in Premiere Pro that's kind of complicated, but
yeah. So I don't know. I'm not familiar with those. Oh, I see. Overwrite insert over here. Yeah.
No, it's in the timeline window. It's just if you go where it says V1, the first V1, if you go directly up from there, there's like a horseshoe looking thing. Yeah.
Where can you see my mouse? Oh, over here.
Yeah, right there.
Snap.
Yeah, those
Okay.
things.
Gotcha. Okay, well, so I can tell you what snap is. You should definitely have snap on, right? So if I turn snap off, what you'll see is that I can't be precise about where I'm moving these clips. So if I turn snap on and I start moving this clip around, when I get close to another clip, it just snaps there, right? Because it makes a guess and it says, oh, you probably want these clips to be touching. Whereas if I turn snap off, I'm just fluid throughout. And if I want to get it to touch, I might get really close. But if I zoom in, there's like a little bit of a gap or something. So the snap tool is really important to keep on. Insert and overwrite sequences as nests or individual clips. Okay, so I wouldn't mess with this. What this is that like if you have a bunch, if you've made a bunch of cuts, like let's say there's this cut here and here and here and here and here and here, right? And let's say these cuts are in the right order. You know that that's the way you want them to be, and now you want to move things around and you don't want to have to click on 5 or 6 separate things. What you can do is you can right click and hit nest. When you hit nest, it merges them all into one, right? And then if you want to go in and change the details, you just double click and it opens up a new sequence, and then you can mess around with it over here. Okay. So what this is doing here, I've never actually, let me undo that. I think that if this were off and I nested these, what it would do is it would nest them, but it wouldn't overwrite it. Oh, well, I guess it does. I don't know what this does. There's a huge amount of Premiere that I don't know. Like it's a very complicated program. And I guess just in general, you know, try to do what you can with the simple tools that you have mastery of. And most of the time, you'll be able to do things just by clicking and dragging. And there are a number of tools that make your workflow more efficient, but that's if you were doing something very long, if you're working on a very, very long project. For your purposes, I would leave the settings as they are, unless you're conscious of a specific reason why you should change it.
Let's say you made a cut that you didn't want to make. How can you undo it?
So unfortunately, Premiere does not have a very good way of merging cuts. So you see what I've done here. Here I've selected the clip. Here I'm selecting just the cut, and if I hit delete, I think it will merge. But I believe it'll only do that if it was originally the same footage, right? So if I bring another clip here, I can't. Well, maybe I can merge them. Oh, yeah, it won't let me. So Premiere won't let you actually merge clips with different file names. So you see these little white arrows there. So that indicates that this is 412. Well, this is also 412. But if I do 413, it won't let me merge these two clips. But if I cut 413, and then I want to get rid of that cut, I can just hit delete. Alternatively, if you make a bunch of cuts and then you realize that they're a mistake, you can just hit Control-Z, and that will undo your cuts. So I use the undo function quite a lot.
Yeah, me too. Okay, you mentioned the speed up and slow down tool. I wasn't using that. I was just cutting and then selecting the section and right clicking and going into properties. Can you just show me how to use that tool?
Yeah, so the way that you were doing it is if you right click and you hit speed duration. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you can do that, and then you can be really precise about exactly how much you want to speed it up. But oftentimes what I find is that I want to speed up a clip to match another clip, right? So like over here, let me see where I was doing it. I have this time lapse here. I've got this time lapse of this nested sequence, and you can see that I've sped this one up to 294% and this one 229%. And so what I was doing is I wanted it to match the audio, right? So if I play this, I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
What is selfishness?
But basically, I'll have an audio that I want to time things to. So let's say, for example, I want to time the speed of the clip to this audio. So I'll isolate that audio there, and then I'll get rid of the stuff around it. And then once I have that clip there, maybe I want to have this clip to match it. So I'll get rid of the audio of this clip, because if you're speeding it up, the audio is going to be terrible. And now once I'm here, I've got them on top of each other. Now what I'll do is I'll take the rate stretch tool, and I will compress this one to match the exact size of the other one. So that way I know that the length of this is going to be corresponding to the audio. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, so what you just did, you shrunk it and now it's sped up?
Yeah, now it's sped up, and I don't know exactly, it's 484.26. So if I were trying to figure out that manually, it would take me forever. Maybe I'd do 487 and then 480. And
yeah, I did that a couple times.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. So what the tool allows you to specify the timing length of another clip, right? You can match it geometrically to something below it.
How did you
thanks.
the audio for the previous clip?
Ask that question again. How
did you delete the audio?
So the audio and the video are usually linked, right? So if I right click here, there's this thing that says unlink, right? So right now, if I move this around, the audio and the video go together. But then if I right click and I unlink it, then I can move the audio around separately from the video. And then furthermore, what I can do is I can take audio from another clip. So I can unlink this audio from this clip. And I can drag it to this one. Right? And now I've got these two clips. And then I can highlight them both and link them. And now when I move it around, the audio from one clip is connected to the video of the other clip. Of course, it won't be synced, right?
Ow,
That it looks, my lips don't match anymore. But yeah, that's how you do that.
How can you delete the audio if you wanted to?
So to delete the audio, you just unlink the clips and then you highlight the audio and delete it.
Okay. How about if I wanted to, let's say, I have an original video, but I would like to add like a clip like in between the two videos that I have. I don't know if I asked the question correctly.
Well, so let me get rid of all of these wasted clips here. So let's start. Is that the end of the, okay. So here's this 49-second clip of me talking, right? And so if I want to put a title in between here, right, what I might do is I would cut this, and then I would move it over some period, and then I would go find my title, which I believe the title is here. Well, that's not the title, but let's do this one. Yeah. So let's say the title I want is Last Weekend.
Yeah.
So I would find the clip that says Last Weekend. I would cut out the rest, and then I would just drag it in. So you can just physically move clips around. And then I've got, here's me talking, and then, ooh, it says Last Weekend, and then here's me talking again.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, or should I go back into the chat?
I have a quick question about, I think it's video or audio lag. Like, I think I had an issue with that. I'm not sure if it came up in my YouTube video, but I was having an issue with that, and I don't really know if that came from the editing process. Like, did I do something subtle that took the audio out of sync with the video? I'm not sure.
Probably not. That's a problem that's fairly common. I think you've probably noticed in some of the tutorials I've uploaded, especially the ones where like there's a little picture of me in the corner and I'm showing you how to do something in Premiere. There's a lot of audio lag. It's because were you recording off of a webcam?
It's recorded from like a Surface, like a Microsoft tablet.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of the time, if you're using a Windows machine and you're recording off a webcam, it doesn't so it's probably a problem with the recording device that you used. And there are a number of ways of fixing it. None of them are really perfect. So one thing that you can try to do is you can unlink the audio like I was showing you before, and then you can zoom in to the frame level, right? So now each of these lines here is an individual frame, and then I can move this over just one frame. You see how this went from 0 to 1, right?
Oh, okay.
And now everything will be slightly out of sync, but if it's already, you can try to shift your audio over to match it up with your words a little better. That works sometimes. But chances are, if it's an artifact of the recording device that you were using, you may not be able to fix it that way, because the reason is that like the bit rate varies, and so it's just like the algorithm that does the recording kind of messes it up. So probably the most reliable thing for you to do instead of using your Surface is use a cell phone. Because the cell phone cameras tend to be a little bit more reliable in terms of audio-video sync. But yeah, that's a technical problem. It's not anything that you were doing, and it's a little hard to solve.
Okay.
One related thing that I will show you is let me do this really quickly. So sometimes I will use, you want to sync up the audio of two separate sources. So for example, let's see, Zoom 4. Here's audio from this. I'm gonna make this louder. So what am I saying here?
They have to eat almost every day or they will die.
Okay, so that's that. And so I think that's for this clip here. Yeah, it is. Okay, so here I've got this clip where I say they have to eat almost every day or they will die. And I recorded this on a camera with bad audio, and so I used a microphone. And so if you run into a situation like this, what you can do is you can look at the waveform. And you can see these waveforms are very similar. And so then you can actually sync things up this way. So you can sync up one audio form to the other. And so now that they're completely on top of each other, when I play it, it won't sound weird.
They have to eat almost every day or they will die.
Yeah. Whereas if I shift this over a frame, there'll be an echo.
They have to eat almost every day or they will die.
Right? So that's I don't know if you'll run into a situation like that, but that's somewhat related to your question. Okay. Well, that was good. I'm gonna shift back to the chat now. Where are we? Here we are. Cool. Yeah, so if y'all have any questions about Premiere like that, don't hesitate to email me, or you can call me as well if you run into a problem. You know, sometimes there aren't tutorials on YouTube for the specific thing that you're looking for, or like there might be, but you'll spend a lot of time like trying to figure out the right search term in order to ask YouTube the right question. So you can definitely ask me things like that, and I may be able to help you. It's usually easier in a live conversation than typing out your question in an email, because it's hard to be articulate about this kind of stuff. But I'm here to help you with the editor if you need help. Cool. Well, that's pretty much what I wanted to go over. You know, I'd love to spend a bit more time talking about each other's videos, but maybe that's difficult because we've only seen 4. It might be easier to have a conversation about the videos that we're making once we've got a few more under our belt. But you know, like I said, on the whole, I've been quite pleased with y'all's videos, and I'm really excited to see what you come up with next. Oh, so one thing is that I gave you all access to the Evos Seminar Series Facebook page for a reason. And that reason is that I was hoping that you would be encouraged to post your own videos there. I posted John's there because I was particularly enamored with it. But, you know, like we have this social media account. And one of our goals is to get people watching our stuff and promoting it. And like I said, I'll get more into social media strategies and things once we have a little bit more experience. But do, you know, take advantage of that Facebook page and post your own work. And when I'm posting stuff, you know, give them likes and comments and things, because that you know, helps people see what we're making. Cool. Okay. Well, I think we can draw this discussion to a close. David, do you have at least an unfinished video that you can upload for last week?
Yeah, but I went back through it, and I probably what I've seen from people here is the editing will take a little bit longer than I assumed. And like the situation that I talked to you about this weekend that kind of unfolded was very unexpected. But I should be able to, like, all I plan and intend to do today is just to sit down and go through and probably do it. I actually watched John's video, and I was also particularly impressed by it. But that's not to say the other videos weren't good as well. I know it's all of most of our first times. So I definitely would like to sit down and try to. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but I feel like I don't need to be because it's the first one. But I would like to tweak it a little bit more before I put it out there.
Okay. Well, we can talk more about the details of you missing that class, but in general, just upload what you have, and then we'll move on to the next one, to
Okay.
Ursula. So we're meeting tomorrow at this time with Ursula Goodenough. So there'll be another video to make.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I just thought of one more thing.
Yeah.
It's a question. I guess for recording, I've seen some videos when people are like drawing and stuff, and it looks like choppy, like intentionally low frame rate, kind of like the claymation sort of thing, where it's like moving around, shifting around. How do you do that? Do you do that in an editor or while you're recording?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it probably looks intentionally low frame rate. It's probably just because they're speeding up their hand motion, right? So if it takes you 5 minutes to write a sentence and then you compress it down to 5 seconds, the frame rate gets reduced. That's how you speed things up, is by lowering the frame rate. So that's using that same tool that I was demoing earlier. There are more sophisticated ways of like making like hand motions actually look like stop motion for a stylistic effect, where you're actually going in and manually affecting the frames. But just using the speed up tool will get that effect almost verbatim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maximus, did you use a stop motion app to make certain parts of your last video? Like when you were cutting up the little pieces of cardboard? I'm not sure exactly which part it was, but
yeah. I did Premiere Pro. It was quite tedious. So that animation took me 30 minutes to film. So I had 30 minutes of footage, and I compressed it down to 10 seconds. And the way that I did that is I did the standard stop motion thing that you might do, like I moved the cardboard a little bit and then took my hands away but rather than taking a picture each time, because that's really tedious, I just filmed the whole thing. And then I went in Premiere Pro and I pulled out 3-frame chunks. So every time I made a change, I zoomed in, I pulled out three frames, and I cut out all of the remaining footage, and then went to the next change, cut out 3 frames, put it in. So it took me a significant amount of time to do that animation, but it's actually, once you get the hang of it, like you can get into a rhythm where like the good parts and the bad parts that you're removing, and you should be able to do something like that pretty easily, just with some cardboard cutouts and the camera. Like it's definitely something that you all would be capable of replicating if you're willing to do the tedium of clicking a lot.
Okay, have you used a stop motion app before, or have you only done it that way that you just explained?
I've never used dedicated stop motion. So I mean, it depends what your raw information is. Like I've also made animations with pictures. Like if you have a digital camera, you can take 300, 400 still images, and then you can use a program to stitch them together. So I've done that before. You can do that actually with Photoshop, is the program that lets you do that. There are pretty easy tutorials for like making animated GIFs with Photoshop, where it'll show you how to stitch a bunch of still images together. But if you have a video file, if you have an MP4 file, it makes the most sense to use Premiere Pro to do it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, what I'm talking about is an app I've seen used on an iPad that takes a picture every 3 seconds and then puts it all together for you, so you don't really have to do the editing, I believe. So that's something that I'm interested in. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so like an app that takes a picture every 3 seconds compared to a camera that takes a picture every 30th of a second, it's basically the same thing. There's just more pictures. So yeah, I mean, if you were to use an app that took a photo every 3 seconds, like you would have to get into a bodily rhythm of like, what you have to like dance with the app, right? Because you can't change the picture rate of the app. So this way makes it a little easier on the filming end. It makes it harder on the editing end. And you'll find that there's always that trade-off. Like, and that's something Inés was saying, right? Like you can put in a lot of work in pre-production. It can make post-production easier. Or you can just sort of wing it, and then you have a lot of editing work to do.
Okay.
I actually have a question about like video style. So do you want us to like vary the types of videos that we put out? Like if we put out a video where we did a lot of like talking and just on-screen action, do you want us to try our hand at like doing other types of things? Or is it okay if we just stick with one of them?
I want you to make videos that you feel proud of and that you feel comfortable with. There's definitely something to be said about like sticking with the style and making it better and better, and then all of your videos will have like a cohesive feel. There's also definitely something to be said about trying out different formats. You know, I was sort of waiting to see what kind of stuff you produced, because I can also give you much more specific assignments if I wanted to about making a video in this style or that style. I want to avoid that as much as I can, because I don't want to constrain you if I don't have to. Like, assignments are constraints to get you, to motivate you to work in a certain direction. But if you can motivate yourself to, you know, go somewhere, then that's always going to be better. So I'd leave that up to you. You know, if you want to try something new, by all means do it. But if you want to like give all your videos a cohesive feel, that's also a valuable thing. So it's really up to you. That said, I really appreciated that it really felt like you all did have distinctive styles, and you know, like there's certain things that we can all bring to the table. You know, certain areas that are we're each going to be stronger at, and I really do. I liked seeing those differences, and I'd like to see them further elaborated. You know, like we all like you'll find that the best YouTubers, the reason why they're the best is because they have a particular style and a particular way of making things, and it's distinctive, and it goes beyond their technical skill. They bring a kind of framing to the things, or a tint to everything that they do. I sent you all a video this morning by ContraPoints. I don't know if any of you got a chance to look at it, but that's one of the best examples of that. Like, he's got such a particular style. And his videos aren't really that high quality, but they're super stylized, and it makes them really good. So I would encourage you to find that stylistic emphasis that works for you. Okay, well that feels like a good place to end. So like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And I look forward to watching all of your videos about Inace's talk tomorrow. And we will meet again like this next week, next Wednesday. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.